Git and GitHub, a version control tool that allows you to save checkpoints in your project, and a platform where you can store and share those checkpoints with others. Let's explain this with a story. It is Sunday night. You have spent the whole weekend working on a project. You are proud and tired. You are working on a login page. Nice layout, smooth design, everything seems perfect. You take one last look and think, let me just move the continue button a little to the right. You adjust a few lines of your code, save, refresh the page, and everything is broken. The input fields are off, the icons are out of place. You try everything to fix it, and even Ctrl-Z is not helping. It is 2 a.m. and you are stuck. At this point, you don't remember anymore what you changed. You cannot even ask your teammate because the last version of the project you sent him was on Friday. There has to be a better way to manage this. Let's talk about Git and GitHub. My name is Diego, I'm a network and systems engineer based in Paris, and I like breaking down tech concepts into simple and visual explanations. If you want to see more videos like this one, feel free to subscribe, and that's all. Back to the video. Let's start with Git. Git is a tool that lets you track every change you make to your project, like saving checkpoints along the way. Git allows you to do many things, like going back if something breaks, or even creating parallel universes of your project to explore and experiment without breaking your main universe. In Git, these universes are called branches. So what about GitHub? We use GitHub when we want to collaborate, share our project, or work on someone else's project. So let's clarify. Git is a tool that runs on your computer. It helps you track changes of your code. GitHub is a website where you can store that code online and collaborate with others. Together, they give you full control of your project and your teamwork. Now let's see how you can use them. Git is a tool that can get very complex at an advanced level. But right now, I'm going to show you the commands you will use 90% of the time, and the workflow we follow to use them in our daily life as engineers. Some of these commands are git init, git status, git add, git commit, git push, git pull, git branch, and git merge. But instead of giving you the boring explanation of each, let's jump back into the story of our friend and his broken login project and see them in action. How we should have done this from the beginning. First, we need to initialize our project as a Git repository. That's done using git init. Git will now keep track of all the changes you make. To check what Git sees, we use git status. It tells you what has been changed, deleted, or added. Let's say we want to save the current state of our login.html file. But before saving, we need to add it to our shopping cart of changes. We call that staging changes. We do this with git add and then the name of the file that contains the changes. You can think of staging as collecting the changes you want to include in your next snapshot. But let's say we want to include all the changes. We can use git add dot. It will put all the changes into the cart. Now that we have staged the changes, we save our snapshot using git commit. Every commit is like a checkpoint, a version you can return whenever you want. A commit normally includes a message to explain what changes we made. Let's say that the last change made by our friend, before breaking everything, was adding the Apple login option. So we can say git commit -m adding Apple login option. And just like that, our checkpoint is done. Now we will be able to come back to this version whenever we want. Next, let's say we want to redesign the text box layout without making a mess of the original one. To do that, we create a new branch. As we said before, branches are like parallel universes, where you can experiment without affecting the main version. We do this with git checkout -b and the name of our branch. Once we finish our experiment, there can be two cases. Number one, yes, it was just an experiment, we don't want it anymore, so we delete the branch. Number two, we are really happy with the changes and we want to put them in the main branch. So we merge our experiment branch into the main branch. Git will compare both branches and put the new changes into the main one. As you can imagine, you need to be careful because you will be affecting the main branch. Okay, so this is how we use Git in a nutshell. Of course, there are a lot of more specific cases, but this is the workflow you will be using 90% of the time. Now let's talk about GitHub. So far, everything has been local on your machine. As we said before, GitHub is a website designed to allow us to collaborate with others. But how exactly do we do this? The first thing that we need to do is send our code to GitHub. To do this, we need to create a new repository on GitHub. Once it is created, we just copy the link. To connect our local repository to GitHub, we will use git remote at origin and then the link of the repo that we just created. But what are all these parameters? Don't worry, it's very simple. When you are using version control systems, you can have multiple remotes. A remote is a nickname for a location where your repository can be stored online or on another machine. For example, origin is the remote name that we are giving to GitHub. We can have a second website with the remote name backup. Banana can be a third one. Yes, you can even call it banana if you want, but your colleagues are going to get a little bit confused. And again, in our case, origin is the name that we are giving to the GitHub remote. Using this name is a very common practice. The important part is the URL. That's the actual address of your repo online. Once the remote is set, we can finally send our local repo to GitHub using git push origin main. Push means upload the changes. Origin is the remote that we just connected. In this case, GitHub. Main is the branch we are sending. And now your project lives online, safe and accessible from anywhere. Here you will be able to do a lot of collaboration tasks, like for example, pulling the changes that your colleagues are also uploading, or opening issues, leaving comments, and many other things. GitHub makes collaboration simple and organized. Teams at companies like Google and Netflix rely on Git every single day, and they also use GitHub or equivalent websites like GitLab for collaboration. Open source projects like Linux, React, and Python are built by thousands of contributors spread across the world, all coordinated through GitHub. So let's make a quick summary. Git is your local history tracker, every change safely recorded. GitHub is your online space for storing your code and those changes. The essential commands that you need to know are git init to start tracking your project, git status to see what's changed, git add to stage changes, git commit to save a checkpoint, git branch and git checkout to create and switch universes, git merge to combine changes together, git push to send your local changes to GitHub, git pull to download the changes from your teammates. We used a broken login page to see how this works in real life, but the same process applies to any kind of project. Websites, mobile apps, APIs, any type of project. If this video helped you to understand Git and GitHub better, leave some feedback or questions in the comments. I read every single one, and your question might be the next video I make. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.